Close your eyes and imagine 500,000 people crammed into a city with no proper sewage system, where the River Thames is both your water supply and your toilet, where fortunes are made and lost in a single afternoon, and where the entire world's wealth flows through narrow, chaotic streets. Now open them, because we're about to step back nearly 3 centuries and explore London in the 1700s, a city so extraordinary, so utterly transformative, that it literally shaped the modern world as we know it. The question is, would you have survived it? Thanks to cutting-edge technology that analyzes actual paintings and engravings from the era, we can now reconstruct Georgian London with stunning accuracy. We're talking about the architecture, the people, the streets, even the atmosphere of a time when this city was reinventing itself from the ashes of catastrophe into the capital of an emerging empire. What you're about to see isn't fantasy, it's history brought back to life. Let me paint you a picture. London in the 1700s wasn't just one city, it was several cities existing simultaneously in the same space. You had the elegant West End with its pristine squares and grand townhouses where aristocrats sipped tea and discussed politics. Then you had the East End, crammed with workers, sailors, and merchants, where the real business of empire was conducted in smoky taverns and crowded warehouses, and running through it all like a dirty, bustling highway was the Thames, absolutely heaving with ships from every corner of the known world. This was a city of jaw-dropping contradictions. Extraordinary wealth existed literally across the street from grinding poverty. Magnificent, Baroque architecture rose above streets filled with rubbish and sewage. The finest minds of the Enlightenment debated philosophy in coffee houses whilst outside. Pickpockets and street gangs ruled the alleyways. It was Charles' brilliance, squalor, and sophistication, all rolled into one impossibly vibrant package. Now, let's start our journey where any proper tours of Georgian London should begin on the Thames itself, looking up a river from where Tower Bridge would eventually stand. Imagine you're standing on the deck of a merchant vessel that's just arrived from the Caribbean, loaded with sugar and rum. The first thing that strikes you is, not the smell though, that is, pretty overwhelming it is, sheer number of ships. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands, their masts creating a forest of wood that stretches as far as you can see. Dominating the entire skyline is St. Paul's Cathedral, Christopher Wren's absolute masterpiece. Completed in 1710, this massive dome represents more than just religious architecture. It is a symbol of luminous resurrection from the ashes of the Great Fire of 1666. That fire had been an absolute catastrophe, destroying medieval London almost entirely. But from that destruction came something remarkable. Wren and his contemporaries rebuilt the city in a completely new style, grand, confident, Baroque. They weren't just reconstructing buildings. They were announcing to the world that London had arrived as a major power. Off to the right, you'd spot the monument, that massive column erected to commemorate the Great Fire, standing over 200 feet tall. It served as a permanent reminder that this city had faced annihilation and chosen to rebuild bigger and better than before. There's something very London about that, isn't there? Getting knocked down and coming back stronger. The river itself is absolutely mad with activity. Sailing ships from East India, rowing boats, ferrying passengers, naval vessels heading to and from the dockyards at Deptford and Woolwich. The Thames wasn't just a river, it was London's motorway, its lifeline, the artery through which the blood of global commerce flowed. Every luxury item you can imagine passed along this water. Spices from the East Indies, tobacco from Virginia, silk from China, coffee from Arabia. London was becoming the warehouse of the world, and the Thames was the loading dock. And there, still standing after centuries, is Old London Bridge, completely covered with houses and shops, just as it had been since medieval times. Can you imagine living on a bridge? Your entire house balanced over the rushing water, shops below, families above. The constant rumble of carts and pedestrians shaking your walls day and night. It must have been simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. Now let's shift our perspective entirely and head southeast to Greenwich. Picture yourself standing on One Tree Hill in Greenwich Park on a crisp Georgian morning. You're at one of the most scientifically significant spots on Earth, though you don't know it yet. In 1884, this exact location will be chosen as the prime meridian 0 degrees, longitude making it literally the center point from which the entire world measures east and west. But in the 1700s, it's simply one of the finest views in England. Below you sits the Queen's House, that elegant Palladian villa designed by Inigo Jones, looking like a slice of Italian Renaissance dropped into the English countryside. Flanking it are the magnificent colonnades of Greenwich Hospital, completed in 1751 as a retirement home for naval sailors who'd spent their lives defending Britain's. Frederick, Prince of Wales, resided here, making the square the center of alternative court life, when he fell out with his father, George II. But here's what makes Leicester Square truly special. It became an absolute magnet for artistic genius. At number 31, you'd find William Hogarth, probably Britain's most famous satirical artist, creating his devastating visual commentaries on Georgian society. His paintings and engravings exposed everything from political corruption to the horrors of gin addiction. He lived and worked here, marked by a bust of Van Dyck above his door, a nice touch of artistic heritage. Opposite him at number 47, Sir Joshua Reynolds would set up his portrait studio in 1760, becoming the most sought-after painter in Britain. If you were anyone who was anyone, politicians, aristocrats, military heroes, intellectuals, Reynolds painted you. These two giants of British art living opposite each other, probably nodding politely in the square while secretly competing for commissions. The creative energy must have been extraordinary. In the center of the square stood an equestrian statue of King George I, erected in 1753. Leicester Square at this moment represented peak Georgian elegance, grand residences, royal connections, artistic genius, fashionable society. Imagine you're on the south bank of the Thames, looking across the water at the Tower of London. William the Conqueror started building the White Tower in 1078 using canned stones specially imported from France. That's how important this fortress was. They shipped stone across the channel rather than use local materials. By the Georgian period, the tower served multiple simultaneous roles: royal palace, prison, armory, mint, and secure storage for the crown jewels. It was like combining Buckingham Palace, Belmarsh Prison, a military base, the royal mint, and a maximum security vault all in one location. The waterfront you're looking at includes Traitors' Gate, where prisoners arrived by barge from the Thames, and Bullen passed through here on her way to execution. So did Sir Thomas More, Lady Jane Grey. The tower wasn't just intimidating, it was where English history played out its darkest chapters. Every stone has witnessed something terrible, something dramatic, something that changed the course of the nation. The various vessels you'd see passing by, royal barges, merchant ships, fishing boats, naval transports, all sailed beneath the tower's watchful gaze. It was a constant reminder that royal authority was absolute, that the monarch's power extended even over the commercial lifeblood of the city. Let me take you now to the absolute epicenter of Georgian commerce, the Royal Exchange. Picture an open-air courtyard, surrounded by elegant arcades on multiple levels, absolutely heaving with merchants from every corner of the globe. Founded by Sir Thomas Gresham in 1565 and modeled on the Antwerp Bourse, this was England's first purpose-built trading center. And by the 1700s, it was the beating heart of global finance. Twice daily, trading sessions began with the ringing of the bell in the tower above. Suddenly, this courtyard exploded with activity. Deals shouted in dozens of languages: English, Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese. The rustle of bills of exchange being signed, the scratch of quills on contracts, the intense negotiations over cargoes that hadn't even left port yet. These was high-stakes capitalism in its rawest form. And operating from these very galleries was Lloyd's of London, starting as a coffee house before becoming the world's leading insurance marketplace. Every major shipping venture, Every risky cargo, every speculative trade was insured here. The Royal Exchange didn't just facilitate trade, it made modern finance possible. This single building transformed London from a regional trading center into a financial superpower. Dukes, earls, prime ministers, they all competed for residences here. The square's centerpiece